I've seen a lot of things in my career when it comes to real estate investing. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything in between. So I'm going to give you guys 10 tips on how to make your real estate investments more successful. So welcome everyone. Hopefully everyone out there is doing good. So I've seen a lot happen in real estate, as I stated. I've seen a lot of things go very bad very quickly when it comes to real estate investing. There's so many things that can go wrong. So today I am going to share 10 tips that will drastically help you when it comes to real estate investing. So let's hop right in and just get right into the first one. All right, so the first tip that I can give you guys is run a background check on your tenants. Do this with any prospect that you are highly considering to signing to a lease. Trust me, if you don't run a background check, it will hurt you in the end. I promise you. So this background check can show you things like past evictions, how much debt do they have, what is their credit score. You don't want to have a tenant move in that can barely make ends meet, and you're talking about giving them a house that rent is $2,000 and they barely can afford that. You want them to have a little bit of room with how much they make versus kind of their debt and expenses that you see, just in case something happens. We all have life, things happen. If something happens, you don't want to have to kick them out or evict them, whether it's negligence on their part or whatever the case is. You don't want to have to go through that process. So running a background check can save you from a lot of these problems in the future. So with this, also verify their income. Check with their current employer. Double check that they actually have a job, they make the money they say they make, that they're not on their way out. Double check all these things with the employer. Tip number 2, go over the lease in detail with your tenants. There's a lot of lingo, there's a lot of things that are going to go on, and a lot of things that are going to be said in a lease. Most of it tenants won't understand, but take the time, especially if it's a new tenant, take the time, walk through it with them, explain everything, highlight certain things that you know are important. If you have late fees, or if there's HOA rules that you have to give them, whatever the case is, make sure that you ask them, hey, do you have any questions? Is there anything that you want more information about? Be that good landlord, or if you're a property manager, be that good property manager that just asks the tenants, hey, do you understand the lease? So for example, on our leases, we have a few things that we like to point out. We'll give you a couple of examples. One is with smoke detectors. We tell our tenants, hey, don't change the battery in the smoke detectors. You hear it beep, let us send maintenance out, they'll change it. We just don't want nothing to happen, if they accidentally break it and then they forget to replace it or something like that, and then a fire happens. You would hate to see that happen. Another example would be we tell our tenants not to do any maintenance to any like major appliances, dishwasher, washer, dryer, AC. Call us, we have a maintenance team, we'll send them out. They're always licensed and insured, and we'll handle it for you. Here is tip number 3. Have cash reserves on hand at all times. I can't tell you how many times I've had an emergency with my own personal investments, and just having some cash on hand has been huge. Now, you can always have a business credit card. That can be great too. If you have a business credit card that is specific for your rentals and you have, a room available to purchase, that's great too. But there's still nothing like having cash on hand. Sometimes certain trades, it's quicker, it's easier just to give them some cash, say, hey, go fix this, I got this problem. Having that cash is just so key to figuring out emergencies in a dire situation. So you hear me talk a lot about leverage and trying to, leverage other people's money and the bank's money, which is great. But there's no substitute for just having pure cash on hand. I'm going to link a video in the description where I have a short where it talks about cash and how that is very important. I'll link that down below so you guys can check that out. Here is tip number 4. This is a good one. Not a lot of people kind of talk about this, but it's huge. Know the local laws for landlords and tenants. Every state, maybe even every city, is completely different from the next on what they have for, what laws and regulations they have for tenants. Sometimes you'll hear certain places say, oh, we're a landlord friendly state, we're a tenant friendly state. Know that about where you're at, because laws differ from state to state, sometimes city to city. So definitely know what your local laws are. So here's a good example. There was a law that changed out here recently when it comes to pet deposits, and what we can say and what we can't say. So what we did, and it was mainly for those who are disabled with service animals, and emotional support animals. So the law changed to where we can't require a pet deposit. And so what people started doing is they started calling them pet fees, which is not the same as a pet deposit legally. So that was something that we had to learn. We had to adjust with our brokerage and kind of with the terms and stuff we put in our leases. But that's just one example. There's going to be hundreds of examples. Policies and things like that change all the time. So know your local laws. So I'm going to give you guys a lot of tips today that are good, but this one just might be one of the most important tips I could ever give you about investment properties. This has saved us so many times that it's hard to put a value on this one tip. Take pictures and, if at all possible, videos of the condition of your unit before that tenant moves in. This right here can provide all the proof that you need to say, hey, no, that big old hole was not in that wall before you moved in. Here's the videos, here's the pictures, I have the dates. There's no way you can argue with video evidence. So you hope it never comes to this, but if a tenant does cause a lot of damage, especially if it's a lot more than the security deposit would cover, these videos and photos could be huge when you go to court. Small claims court is more than likely where you'll take them. And if you have all this evidence and you can literally show, hey, look, this is what it looked like before, this is what it looked like after, it's very easy and you more than likely have the ruling in your favor. So before we go any further, I'd like to thank everyone so far who has watched this video and my other videos. To those who have subscribed, please take a moment, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a channel like me, someone who's pretty small still, trying to grow, just trying to get good information out there. So please hit that like button and subscribe for more. So tip number 6, pretty important as well. This is going to vary maybe person to person, but have a business set up for your rentals. Whether you set up an S Corp, a C Corp, an LLC, you have a partnership, you have partners involved, whatever the case is, set up some sort of business for your rentals. Now, if you have multiple units, you got, apartment complexes, houses, all kinds of stuff, you may want to look into setting up an individual business for each address. There's multiple benefits to that. But if you only got one or two, then maybe just one business LLC would work fine. Check with a tax professional too, just to kind of make sure that works for you. But there's a ton of benefits to doing this. So you got better tax write-offs, you got just extra insurance benefits that you can get. You can get some liability insurance just in case something happens. It gives you a little layer of protection between your business and your personal assets. It kind of just gives you a bunch of protection that just as an individual person you just don't have. But of course, double check with your CPA because it definitely will impact your taxes. If you all want to learn more about taxes, I'm going to link put a link to a video in the description below that I talk all about real estate taxes and how to avoid them. So check that video out. Tip number 7. Can't believe we're already at 7, but here we go. Do not put cheap materials into your rental units. You will regret it. I promise you. I've done it and I've regretted it. Yes, tenants are going to mess up your stuff, especially if they live there for a lengthy period of time. But don't put cheap materials. Cheap materials don't last. Now, I'm not saying you have to go in and put the most expensive stuff ever, but don't put nothing cheap in there. Cheap stuff will break. You'll have to fix it. You'll end up spending more money just trying to fix it and maintain it than you actually would have if you just put something nicer in there that's of better quality. So this mistake I definitely made early on in my career, and a huge shout out and thanks to my broker. If he's watching this, he knows exactly what he's done. He told me exactly not to put cheap materials in my units because of this very reason. Tip number 8, have a good contact for a real estate attorney. So knowing a good real estate attorney can just help you in so many things, whether you're trying to buy or sell investment properties and you just want the title company to run the title work and make sure that process is handled, or whether you're trying to handle an eviction, whether you're looking to buy a foreclosure. Having a good contact and maybe they're been doing it for a while and they kind of know some things, that's a real good one. But having a good title attorney or real estate attorney is going to be huge. So having a good contact at a real estate attorney's office is great. They're going to help you with things like evictions, and let's say you're trying to buy a foreclosure, they can run title, they can look to see if there's any taxes owed, all kinds of things. But just having that good contact is so important. Tip number 9, stay current on your real estate rental market. It sounds kind of like a duh moment, like duh, of course I would want to do that. But you can get busy, especially if you're really into real estate investing, or if you got a lot of other things. Let's say you maybe do real estate investing on the side and you got a full-time job, you can get busy. But staying current with the market is huge. Knowing what things around you are renting for, what current condition are they in, because if you have something that's renting at the same amount as you, but it's much nicer, it might be time to renovate, put a little bit of money into it to keep your rent at peak level. There's so many little things that can change and fluctuate in the market that can cause rents to go up or down. So staying current will really help you maximize your profit. So you don't want to be overcharging for rent, and you surely don't want to be undercharging for rent. Granted, undercharging can get you a renter faster, but why would you want to put money out on the table? Sure, if you want to lower it by $50, $75 to guarantee a renter, no problem. But if you're losing hundreds of dollars per unit and you got a lot of units, you could really be losing thousands of dollars every month. Okay, tip number 10, the final tip. One of my favorite tips, because it actually has to do with something that I do personally, that I help my other clients with, is don't be afraid to hire a property manager. Property management, if you find the right company, can be a huge benefit to your investment portfolio. They'll do things like collect the rents, they'll coordinate when the tenant moves out to get your unit ready, painted, whatever the case is, ready for the next tenant. They'll handle any potential eviction processes. Really, all you have to do after you hire a property manager is just sit back, relax, and collect that rent every month. Now, if as a property manager myself, we are in constant communication with the owners, just checking in with them, making sure that everything's good. But really, if you don't hear from your property manager for a while and you keep seeing the money come in, that's exactly what you want. And so don't be afraid to hire a property manager. It's also an expense, especially if you have a business. So if you go back to tip number 6, which was opening a business, you can take this property management company expense and use it as a write-off. So that's the end of this video. I really appreciate everyone who has been watching my videos. I'm starting to see some comments. Thank you for that. Please ask me questions down below. If I can't answer them, maybe I have a video already that has answered it, but I love interacting with the community. So please ask as many questions as you want. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see y'all in the next video.